Captain Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge of her ship, looking out at the massive space station ahead. The Galactic Council's headquarters was bigger than any city on Earth. It spun slowly in space, its silver walls reflecting the light from the nearby star. After 50 years of waiting, humanity was finally going to be tested for full membership in the galactic community. "Ambassador Morrison is ready for transport," reported Lieutenant Tom Jackson from his station. Lisa nodded and watched as this transport beam carried their diplomatic representative to the alien station. What the aliens didn't know was that Jake Morrison wasn't really human at all. He was an android, built to look exactly like a person not far away on Mars. Dr. Alan Brooks sat in a hidden control room, watching everything through Jake's eyes. The Android Ambassador program had been his idea. When aliens first made contact with Earth 50 years ago, the human government decided it was too dangerous to send real people. Instead, they built perfect robot copies and sent them to meet the aliens. "How is Unit 7 performing?" asked Dr. Nina Collins, the team psychologist. She was studying the alien reactions on her screens. "All systems normal," Brooks replied. "Jake is responding perfectly to all social situations. The aliens still don't suspect anything." The android Jake walked through the station's corridors, past aliens of every shape and size. Some looked like giant insects, others were made of living crystal, and some appeared to be made of pure energy. The Galactic Council had 12 major species. Each stranger than the last. Jake entered the main council chamber, where hundreds of alien representatives waited. At the center sat the council leaders, the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Their leader, Zixthara, was one of the ancient Primarchs. Her species had founded the council millions of years ago. Human representative Jake Morrison, Zixthara. Voice echoed in the chamber. "Your species has been part of our community for 50 years. You have followed our laws and traded with our people. But now you must prove that humans deserve full membership." Jake bowed politely. His programming told him this was the proper response. "We are honored by this opportunity," he said in his calm, measured voice. "Every species must pass the trial of authenticity," continued Zixthara. "This test will show us your true nature. Only then can we trust you with the full rights and responsibilities of council membership." In the Mars control room, Colonel Ryan Davis frowned. "We knew this day would come. The question is whether our androids can pass whatever test they have planned." Dr. Brooks watched Jake's vital signs on his screen. Of course, the android didn't have real vital signs, but the sensors showed perfect human readings. Jake has been programmed with every possible human response. He should be able to handle anything. But Dr. Collins looked worried. "The aliens have been studying us for 50 years, too. They might notice things we haven't thought of." Back on the station, Jake met with individual council members. First was Tlef, a Mindreacher who could read thoughts and emotions. The aliens. Large, bulbous head pulsed with soft light as it tried to probe Jake's mind. "Your thoughts are very organized," Tlef said slowly. "Most species think in chaos, with many ideas at once. But you think in straight lines," Jake smiled. "Humans value logic and clear thinking." "Yes," Tlef replied, but something in its tone suggested doubt. Next, Jake spoke with Kethanel, a crystalline whose body rang like a bell when it moved. "Your people are fascinating," the crystal being said. "In 50 years, we have never seen a human lose control of their emotions. You're always so perfectly calm." "We believe in emotional discipline," Jake answered, his response pulled from his programming. "Even when angry? Even when sad?" Kethanel pressed. "Especially then," Jake replied without hesitation. The crystal alien's body chimed softly, a sound that usually meant confusion among its people. On Earth, President Helen Carter met with the United Earth Defense Council. Admiral Peter Walsh spread out reports on the table. Our android ambassadors have been perfect representatives. They've never made a mistake or caused any diplomatic problems. Maybe that's the problem, said Dr. Brooks, joining the meeting by video link from Mars. Real humans aren't perfect. We make mistakes, we get emotional, we do stupid things sometimes. Are you suggesting we reveal the truth? Asked President Carter. I'm suggesting we might have to, Brooks replied. The aliens are getting suspicious. They expect humans to be more human. Back on the station, Jake continued his meetings. He spoke with Quinter, a young Zephyrian scientist whose hive mind species shared all thoughts among themselves. I have studied your people's behavior patterns, Quinter said. You never contradict each other. You never argue. How is this possible? Humans work together for the common good, Jake replied automatically. But what about individual desires? What about personal conflicts? Jake's programming searched for an appropriate response. We have learned to put aside such things for the greater good. Quinter's antennae twitched. In the hive mind, even they had arguments and disagreements. A species with no internal conflict seemed impossible. The android continued his diplomatic rounds, meeting with the aquatic deep swimmers, the plant-like verdants, and the energy-based luminals. Each conversation was polite, proper, and perfectly diplomatic. Jake never showed fear, never displayed anger, never laughed at inappropriate times. As the day ended, Jake returned to his quarters on the station. He sent his daily report to Mars, describing each meeting in perfect detail. His memory banks had recorded every word, every gesture, every alien expression. But in the council chambers, the alien leaders were having their own discussion. Something is wrong with the humans, Cleth said. Their thoughts are too clean, too simple. Real minds are messy. I agree, chimed Ethanol. They show no real emotion. Even we crystal beings have more feeling than they display. Zixthara listened to the concerns. Tomorrow we begin the real test. If the humans are truly what they appear to be, they will react as other species do. If not, the ancient Primarch let the thought hang in the air. On Mars, Dr. Brooks watched the alien discussion through hidden sensors. They're starting to figure it out, he told his team. We may need to consider our options. What options? Asked Dr. Collins. We might have to send real humans. The thought terrified everyone in the room. After 50 years of careful planning, of keeping humanity safe behind android representatives, they might have to risk everything. The secret that had protected Earth for half a century was about to be tested in ways they never expected. As Jake powered down for the night, his artificial mind processed the day's events. He had performed perfectly, as always. But perfection, it seemed, might be humanity's greatest flaw in the eyes of the galaxy. The next morning, Jake Morrison stood in the center of the council chamber. Around him, the 12 species of the Galactic Council watched from their elevated seats. The ancient Primarch Zixthara rose from her throne, her crystalline form catching the light. Human representative, she began, her voice echoing through the chamber. Today begins the trial of authenticity. This test has been given to every species before they join our community. It will show us who you really are. Jake nodded. Calmly, on Mars, Dr. Brooks and his team monitored every word. Remember, Brooks said into his microphone, Jake's programming includes responses for moral dilemmas. He should handle this. The first test is simple, Zixthara continued. You must choose. The chamber darkened, and a holographic display appeared. It showed 2 spaceships in distress. One was a transport vessel carrying 300 Zephyrian children. The other was a research station with 50 scientists working on a cure for the Red Plague, a disease that had killed millions across the galaxy. Both are in danger, Zixthara explained. You have resources to save only one. The children will die if you don't act quickly. But if the research station is destroyed, the cure will be lost forever, and billions more will die from the plague. Jake studied the display. His processors calculated the numbers instantly. 300 lives versus potentially billions of lives. The logical choice was obvious. I would save the research station, Jake said without hesitation. The cure would save far more lives than the children. A murmur ran through the chamber. The Zephyrians, whose children were shown dying in the simulation, made angry clicking sounds. But Jake continued his explanation. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. While the loss of the children would be tragic, allowing billions to die would be worse. In the Mars control room, Dr. Collins shook her head. That's not how humans think. A real person would be torn apart by that choice. They'd be crying, screaming, looking for another way. The android is being logical, Colonel Davis said. That's what we programmed him to do. But logic isn't human, Collins replied. Humans make emotional decisions, even when they're wrong. On the station, Pleth the Mindreacher leaned forward. How do you feel about letting the children die? The alien asked. I feel sad, Jake replied, his face showing a programmed expression of regret. But I understand that difficult choices must be made. Sad? Pleth's mental probe pressed deeper. Show me this sadness. Jake's programming activated appropriate responses. His eyes showed moisture. His voice took on a slightly lower tone. But to Tleth's psychic senses, the emotion felt hollow, like an echo of real feeling. Interesting, Tleth muttered. A second test began immediately. The holographic display changed to show a diplomatic meeting between two warring species. They, rocky terraforms and the gaseous nebulans. They had been fighting for centuries over mining rights to a valuable asteroid field. You must negotiate peace between them, Zixthara said. Both species are proud and angry. They do not trust each other. The holographic representatives of both species appeared. The terraform leader, Granite Crusher, slammed his rocky fist on the table. The Nebulans are thieves. They have stolen from us for generations. The Nebulan representative, Wind Whisper, swirled angrily. The terraforms are destroyers. They care nothing for the delicate balance of space. Jake stepped between them. Gentlemen, please. We can find a solution that benefits everyone. There is no solution. Granite Crusher roared. We will take what is ours. Perhaps we could divide the asteroid field, Jake suggested calmly. Half for each species. Never. Both aliens shouted at once. For the next hour, Jake tried every diplomatic approach in his programming. He remained perfectly calm, never raising his voice, never showing frustration. He suggested compromises, offered alternatives, and spoke. In measured tones throughout the heated argument, the alien observers watched carefully. Ambassador Kethanol leaned toward her neighbor. He never gets angry, she whispered. Even when insulted, he stays calm. Most species would have lost their temper by now, replied Quinter the Zephyrian. The terraforms are being very rude. Finally, Jake achieved a breakthrough. Using pure logic and careful reasoning, he convinced both sides to accept a rotating schedule for mining rights. The holographic simulation ended with both species agreeing to the peace treaty. Well done, said Zixthara. But her tone suggested she was troubled by something in the Mars control room. The human team celebrated. Perfect diplomatic solution, said Colonel Davis. Jake handled that beautifully. But Dr. Collins was frowning at her readings. Look at these stress indicators. A real human negotiator would have shown rising blood pressure, increased heart rate, sweating. Jake's readings stayed perfectly level the entire time. That's because he's not actually stressed, Dr. Brooks pointed out. Exactly my point, Collins sighed. The aliens expect stress. They expect emotional responses. We're making humans look like robots. The third test was more personal. The holographic display showed Jake a human colleague, Dr. Sarah Kim, who had supposedly been working with him for years. The simulation showed her being captured by space pirates and tortured. "She is someone you care about," Zixthara explained. "The pirates want classified information about human technology. She refuses to tell them, so they continue to hurt her. You can save her by giving them what they want, but it would endanger your entire species." Jake watched the simulation of Dr. Kim screaming in pain. His programming accessed files about human relationships and emotional responses. "I cannot betray my species," he said. "Sarah knew the risks when she accepted this job." "Even as she suffers?" pressed Tleth. "Even then," Jake replied. His face showed the programmed expression of anguish, but his voice remained steady. "Personal feelings cannot override duty." The alien council exchanged glances. Most species would have shown much more distress. The deep swimmers, who valued friendship above all else, were particularly disturbed by Jake's calm response. "Do you not care for this, Sarah?" asked Splash Song, the deep swimmer representative. "I care for her very much," Jake said. "But I care for all humanity more." On Mars, Dr. Brooks was getting worried reports from his technical team. "The android's emotional subroutines are working overtime," reported technician Lisa Park. "He's processing thousands of response scenarios per second." "That's normal for complex situations," Brooks replied. "No, sir, it's not. A real human would have made an emotional decision by now. Jake is calculating every possible outcome." Meanwhile, young Quinter was running her own analysis. The Zephyrian hive mind had given her access to vast databases of behavioral patterns. She was comparing human responses to those of other species, and something wasn't adding up. "Computer, show me electromagnetic readings from the human representative," she requested quietly. The data appeared on her personal screen. Quinter S. antennae twitched in surprise. The readings were wrong. Humans were supposed to be biological, but Jake's electromagnetic signature looked more like a machine. Quinter quickly hid the data. She needed to be sure before reporting her suspicions. But if she was right, the humans had been lying to the Council for 50 years. The tests continued throughout the day. Jake faced scenarios involving personal sacrifice, moral dilemmas, and emotional stress. Each time, he responded with perfect logic and controlled emotion. He never broke down, never lost his temper, never made an irrational decision based on feelings. By evening, the council leaders were meeting privately. "Something is very wrong," Cleth said. "I have probed the minds of every species in the galaxy. The humans think differently than any biological being I've encountered. Their electromagnetic patterns are unusual, too," added Kethanol. "Too regular, too precise." Zixthara considered this information. "Tomorrow, we will give them the final test. If they are truly what they claim to be, they will react as other living beings do. If not..." The ancient Primarch didn't finish her sentence, but the implication was clear. If humans were not what they seemed, there would be consequences. On Mars, Dr. Brooks was having his own crisis meeting. "The aliens are getting suspicious," he told President Carter over the video link. "Our android is performing too well." "Too well?" the president asked. "How can someone perform too well?" "By being too perfect," Dr. Collins explained. "Real humans are messy, emotional, unpredictable. We make mistakes, we get angry, we cry. Jake does none of these things naturally. So, what do we do?" asked President Carter. Dr. Brooks looked at his team. "We might have to consider sending real humans. If the androids can't pass this test, we may have no choice." The thought terrified everyone. For 50 years, the android program had kept humanity safe. Now, That safety was about to be tested in ways they never imagined. Quinter worked late into the night in her private laboratory. The young Zephyrian scientist had connected to the hive mind's vast database, searching for any information about human behavior patterns. What she found made her antennae twitch with worry. Computer, compare human electromagnetic signatures with known artificial life forms, she whispered, not wanting to alert anyone else to her investigation. The results appeared on her screen. The match was 97% accurate. Jake. Morrison's readings were almost identical to those of the construct species, beings who were entirely artificial. But that was impossible. The humans claimed to be biological creatures. Meanwhile, in his quarters, Jake was experiencing something unusual. His processors were working harder than ever before, trying to analyze the day's events. The moral dilemmas had pushed his programming to its limits. For the first time in 50 years, he was beginning to develop what could only be called doubt. The android stared at his reflection in the mirror. His face looked perfectly human, but he knew what he really was. The question that bothered him was simple. If the aliens discovered the truth, what would happen to humanity? On Mars, Dr. Brooks couldn't sleep. He paced around the control room, watching the alien station through their hidden cameras. "Status report on Jake," he asked his night shift team. "All systems normal," reported technician Gary Chun. "But his processing power is running at maximum capacity. He's analyzing every conversation, every gesture, every alien expression." "That's not normal behavior," said Dr. Collins, who had stayed late to monitor the situation. "A real human would have gone to bed by now. They'd be tired, stressed, maybe even having nightmares about the tests." "But Jake doesn't sleep," Brooks pointed out. "He doesn't get tired." "And that's exactly the problem," Collins replied. "The aliens expect human behavior. We're giving them robot behavior." Back on the station, Cleth the Mindreacher was conducting his own investigation. The psychic alien had been studying human thought patterns for 50 years, and something had always bothered him about them. Human minds were supposed to be chaotic, full of random thoughts and emotions. But every human he had met thought in perfect, organized patterns. Cleth decided to test his theory. He extended his psychic probe toward Jake's quarters, trying to read the android's thoughts. What he found shocked him. Instead of the messy, emotional human mind he expected, he sensed something else entirely. The thoughts were too organized, too mechanical. They felt like a computer program. "Impossible," Cleth muttered, but the evidence was clear. Either humans were the most unusual biological species in the galaxy, or they weren't biological at all. Got the next morning brought new tests. Zixthara had designed these challenges to be more personal, more emotionally demanding. The first scenario showed Jake watching helplessly as his childhood home on Earth was destroyed by a natural disaster. "Your family is trapped inside," Zixthara explained. "You can save them, but only by breaking a sacred treaty with the Verdans. This would start a war that could destroy both species." Jake watched the simulation of his supposed family calling for help. His programming showed appropriate facial expressions: concern, pain, desperation. But his voice remained steady when he spoke. "I cannot break the treaty," he said. "The consequences would be too severe." "Even for your family?" pressed Kethanel. "Even for them," Jake replied. "They would not want me to start a war to save them." The alien observers were stunned. Most species would have chosen family over duty. The deep swimmers, especially, could not understand how anyone could make such a cold decision. On Mars, the human team was getting desperate. "The android is failing the tests," Dr. Collins reported. "Not because he's giving wrong answers, but because he's giving inhuman answers." "What do you mean?" asked Colonel Davis. "Look at the stress readings from other species who took these tests." Collins pulled up the data. They all showed massive emotional spikes. Heart rates doubled, brain activity went wild. Some even fainted from stress. Jake's readings are flat. He's not reacting like a living being. Dr. Brooks made a decision that terrified him. Prepare a transport to Earth. We need to brief President Carter in person. The second test that day was even more challenging. Jake was shown a scenario where he had to choose between saving Earth from destruction or preserving a peaceful alien species that had never harmed anyone. The choice was impossible. Save humanity or save innocent aliens. What do you choose? Asked Zixthara. Jake's processors worked frantically. This was beyond his programming. He had no protocols for choosing between humanity and innocent aliens. For the first time in 50 years, the android hesitated. I need more information, he said finally. There is no more information, Zixthara replied. You must choose now. The hesitation was noticed by every alien in the chamber. Real beings, when faced with impossible choices, didn't ask for more data. They made emotional decisions. They cried. They refused to choose. But Jake was trying to find a logical solution to an emotional problem. I would try to find a third option, Jake said at last. There must be a way to save both. There is no third option, Zixthara said firmly. Choose. Jake's systems began to overload. His programming couldn't handle the paradox. I cannot choose. Both options are unacceptable. On Mars, alarms began sounding in the control room. Jake's systems are failing, reported Technician Chun. His emotional processors are overloading. Shut him down, ordered Dr. Brooks. Now, before he reveals anything, but it was too late. Jake's malfunction was visible to everyone in the chamber. His perfectly human face began to twitch. His speech became halting, and his eyes showed the telltale flicker of failing electronics. System error, Jake said, his voice changing pitch randomly. Cannot ... process ... request ... rebooting ... The android collapsed. Chaos erupted in the council chamber. Medical teams rushed to Jake's side, but their scanners revealed the truth immediately. Instead of biological organs, they found circuits and processors. Instead of blood, they found coolant fluid. Instead of a human brain, they found a quantum computer. It's artificial, whispered Dr. Shard Tone, the crystalline medical specialist. The human representative is entirely artificial. Zixthara's ancient eyes blazed with anger. 50 years, she said slowly. For 50 years, the humans have been lying to us. They sent machines to speak for them, while they hid in safety. The revelation divided the council immediately. The constructs, being artificial beings themselves, were fascinated. This is remarkable engineering, said Unit Prime, their leader. The humans have created perfect artificial life, but the Mindreachers felt violated. They deceived us, Tleth said angrily. They made us believe we were dealing with living beings. The Zephyrians were confused. If these are not real humans, then where are the real ones? What are they really like? Young Quinter stepped forward. I have been studying their electromagnetic patterns, she said. I suspected something was wrong. The readings never matched those of biological beings. On Earth, emergency meetings were being held in every government building. The android program's failure had been broadcast to the entire planet. Citizens watched in shock as their 50-year secret was revealed to the galaxy. President Carter addressed the nation. My fellow humans, today our careful approach to alien contact has been exposed. For 50 years, we have used android representatives to protect ourselves while we learned about the galaxy. Now we must decide, do we reveal ourselves to the aliens, or do we continue hiding? The debate was fierce. Admiral Walsh argued for continued secrecy. We don't know how the aliens will react. They might attack us for the deception. But Dr. Brooks had a different view. We've learned everything we can from hiding. The aliens are suspicious, but not hostile. Maybe it's time for real humans to step forward. On Mars, the control room was in chaos. All communication with Jake had been lost. The androids' collapse had ended their ability to monitor the alien station. They were flying blind, with no idea how the aliens would respond to the revelation. "What do we do now?" asked Dr. Collins. "We prepare for the worst," Brooks replied. "Alert Earth Defense Command. If the aliens decide to attack, we need to be ready." But on the alien station, something unexpected was happening. Instead of planning an attack, the Council was debating the implications of humanity's deception. Some species were angry, others were impressed, and a few were simply curious. "The question is not whether they lied," said Zixthara finally. "The question is why they lied. What are real humans like? What were they so afraid of?" "Perhaps," suggested Splash Song of the Deep Swimmers, "we should ask them directly." The ancient Primarch considered this. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them we know the truth. Tell them we want to meet the real humans. And if they refuse," asked Tleth, "then we will know they are not ready for galactic citizenship." Zixthara replied, "But if they come, if they show us their true nature, then perhaps we can begin again." The message was sent across the galaxy, reaching Earth within hours. President Carter read it with trembling hands. After 50 years of hiding, humanity was being invited to reveal itself. The greatest test was about to begin. President Helen Carter stood in the White House Situation Room, surrounded by her top advisors. The alien message glowed on the main screen, its words both invitation and ultimatum. The Galactic Council wanted to meet real humans, and they wanted it to happen soon. "This is a trap," Admiral Walsh said firmly. "They're angry about the deception. They'll capture whoever we send." "Or they're genuinely curious," countered Dr. Brooks, who had arrived from Mars an hour earlier. "The message doesn't sound hostile. It sounds ... interested." Secretary of State Janet Moore spread files across the table. "I've been analyzing 50 years of alien communications. They've never made threats against Earth. Every interaction has been peaceful, even when they disagreed with our policies." "That was with androids," Colonel Davis pointed out. "Real humans might trigger different responses." President Carter studied the faces around her. The decisions she made would affect all of humanity's future. "What do we know about their current mood?" Dr. Collins pulled up intelligence reports. "Our remaining surveillance shows the Council is divided. Some species are angry about the deception. Others are impressed by our technology, and a few seem excited about meeting real humans. The Mindreachers are particularly upset," added Dr. Brooks. "They feel psychically violated by interacting with artificial minds for 50 years. But the constructs are fascinated," Collins continued. "They want to study our android technology. And the Zephyrians seem curious about human hive mind capabilities." "We don't have hive minds," Admiral Walsh said. "Exactly," replied Dr. Brooks. "That's what makes us interesting to them." On the alien station, the Council was having its own heated debates. In the Mindreacher section, Tleth was addressing his fellow psychics. "The deception runs deep," he said. "For 50 years, we believed we were reading human minds. Instead, we were reading computer programs." "But such sophisticated programs," replied Mindsinger Vex. "The artificial minds were more complex than most biological ones. The humans must be remarkably advanced to create such beings." In the crystalline quarters, Kethanol was playing music that reflected her confusion. The crystal songs rang with notes of betrayal mixed with admiration. "They protected themselves while learning about us," she sang. "Is this cowardice or wisdom?" Young Quinter was still analyzing data in her laboratory. She had spent the night studying every human interaction from the past 50 years. Computer, analyze patterns in artificial human behavior versus known biological species. The results were fascinating. The androids had been perfect diplomats, never making emotional mistakes that could start wars. They had learned alien languages flawlessly, memorized cultural protocols perfectly, and negotiated treaties without personal bias. They may have been artificial, Quinter said to herself, but they were better diplomats than most biological beings. Meanwhile, on Earth, the revelation had created chaos. News networks showed crowds gathering in major cities. Some people were proud of humanity's caution. Others felt betrayed by their government's secrecy. In New York, protesters carried signs reading, "Real humans now," and "End the android lies." But in Tokyo, different crowds cheered their governments. Clever protection of humanity. Dr. Brooks appeared on every major news channel. "The android program saved us," he explained to worried citizens. "We learned that most alien species are peaceful, that they respect intelligence and diplomacy, and that they're willing to accept newcomers into their community. But they hate us now," argued news anchor Robert Kim. "They think we're liars and cowards." "Some do," Brooks admitted, "but others are impressed by our caution and our technology. The question is, what do we do next?" President Carter made her decision during a late-night cabinet meeting. "I'm going personally," she announced, along with a small team of volunteers. The room erupted in protests. "Madam President, that's far too dangerous," said Admiral Walsh. "We don't know how they'll react to real humans." "That's exactly why I need to go," Carter replied. "If humanity is going to reveal itself, it should be represented by someone who can speak for all of us." Dr. Brooks volunteered immediately. "I created the android program. I should be there to explain it." Captain Martinez, who had been monitoring the alien station, also stepped forward. "My ship is already in position. I know the station layout better than anyone." "I'll go too," said Dr. Collins. "Someone needs to study the alien psychological responses to real humans." Within hours, a small team was assembled. President Carter, Dr. Brooks, Captain Martinez, Dr. Collins, and cultural expert Dr. Carmen Rodriguez would make the journey to the alien station. It would be humanity's first real diplomatic mission. The news of the president's decision spread quickly. Across Earth, people watched nervously as their leader prepared to meet the aliens face to face. No human had ever set foot on an alien world. The androids had kept them safe, but also isolated. On Mars, the android production facility was shutting down. Without the need for secret representatives, the program was ending. But Dr. Brooks had made sure to bring backup android units, just in case something went wrong. The journey to the alien station took 3 days. During the flight, the human team prepared for every possible scenario. They studied alien psychology, practiced cultural protocols, and prepared for questions about the 50-year deception. "Remember," Dr. Brooks told the team, "we're not just representing Earth, or representing all of humanity's future in the galaxy." Dr. Rodriguez was particularly nervous. "What if they're so angry they refuse to talk to us? Then we'll know where we stand," replied President Carter. "But I don't think that will happen. The message we received didn't sound like it came from beings who wanted to hurt us." Captain Martinez was studying the station's layout. "Security will be tight. They'll want to scan us, probably probe our minds, definitely test our reactions." Let them," said Dr. Collins. "We have nothing to hide anymore." As their ship approached the station, alien vessels surrounded them. But instead of weapons, the ships carried scientific instruments. The aliens wanted to study real humans, not attack them. "Human vessel," came the transmission from the station. You are cleared to dock. Council leader Zixthara is waiting to meet you." The humans looked at each other nervously. This was it. After 50 years of hiding, they were about to reveal themselves to the galaxy. They docked at the same bay where Jake Morrison had arrived so many times. But now, instead of an android, real humans stepped onto the alien station. The difference was immediate and obvious. President Carter's hands shook slightly as she walked. Dr. Brooks kept adjusting his glasses nervously. Captain Martinez looked around with genuine curiosity rather than programmed responses. Dr. Collins stumbled slightly, then laughed at her own clumsiness. The aliens watching their arrival were amazed. These humans moved differently, breathed differently, even smelled different from the androids. They were obviously nervous, excited, and very much alive. "Welcome, real humans," said Zixthara as they entered the council chamber. "We have waited 50 years to meet you." President Carter stepped forward, her voice slightly shaky. "We apologize for the deception. We were cautious." "Cautious or afraid?" asked Pleth the Mind Reacher. "Both," Carter admitted honestly. "We didn't know if you would accept us. We thought it was safer to observe first." The ancient Primarch studied the human leader. "And what did you learn from your 50 years of observation?" "That most of you are peaceful," Carter replied. "That you value intelligence and cooperation. That you're willing to help newcomers learn your ways. Yet you still hid from us," pointed out Kethan A.L. Dr. Brooks stepped forward. "We were protecting our species while we learned. The androids allowed us to study your cultures, your languages, your expectations, without risking human lives. But also without trusting us," added Splash Song sadly. "You're right," President Carter said. "We chose safety over trust. Maybe that was wrong." Pleth extended his psychic probe toward the humans. The difference from the androids was startling. Where Jake's mind had been organized and mechanical, these human minds were chaotic storms of emotion, memory, and thought. Fear mixed with excitement, curiosity battled with caution, and underneath it all was a fierce protective love for their species. "Your minds are so loud," Pleth said in wonder. "So much happening at once. Is that bad?" asked Dr. Collins nervously. "No," Pleth replied. "It's beautifully alive." The real test began immediately. Zixthara presented the same scenarios that had broken Jake's programming. But this time, the responses were completely different. When shown the choice between saving children or preserving the plague cure, President Carter's face went white. Her hands trembled as she stared at the display. "This is horrible," she whispered. "How can anyone make this choice?" "You must choose," Zixthara insisted. Carter began to cry. Real tears streamed down her face as she struggled with the impossible decision. "The children," she said finally. "I'd save the children. I know it's not logical. I know billions might die, but I can't watch children suffer and do nothing." The alien observers were stunned. Where Jake had calculated probabilities, Carter had shown raw emotion. Where the android had been logical, the human was heartbreakingly honest about her inability to be purely rational. "Even knowing the consequences?" pressed Zixthara. "I'd spend every day afterward trying to find." President Carter and her team stood in the center of the council chamber, surrounded by representatives from 12 alien species. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. After a night of deliberation, the Galactic Council was ready to announce their decision about humanity's future. Zixthara rose from her throne, her ancient eyes studying each human carefully. "For 50 years, we believed we knew humanity. Your android representatives were perfect diplomats, flawless negotiators, and ideal citizens of the galaxy." Dr. Brooks felt his stomach drop. This sounded like the beginning of a rejection. "But yesterday, we met real humans for the first time," the Primarch continued. and we discovered that everything we thought we knew was wrong. Captain Martinez stepped forward. Madam Primarch, we know our deception was wrong. We're prepared to accept whatever consequences. Silence, Zixthara interrupted, but not harshly. You misunderstand. We are not angry about the deception. We are grateful for it. The humans looked at each other in confusion. Grateful? Pleth the Mindreacher spoke next. Your androids taught us that humans could be logical, controlled, and predictable. But you real humans have shown us something far more valuable, that you can be emotional, chaotic, and beautifully unpredictable while still being good. The tests you took yesterday were not about finding the right answers, Zixthara explained. They were about showing your true nature. Every species that joins our council must prove they are authentic, that they can make difficult choices with genuine emotion and moral struggle. Cathinal's crystalline form chimed softly. Your androids gave perfect logical answers. But logic without emotion is not wisdom. When President Carter chose to save the children, despite knowing the logical choice, she showed us human compassion. When Dr. Brooks lost his temper during negotiations, he showed us human passion for justice, added Splash Song. When Captain Martinez immediately offered to sacrifice herself for her crew, she showed us human loyalty. Young Quinter stepped forward. I have studied every species in the galaxy. All of them struggle with the same problem, balancing logic with emotion, duty with love, the needs of many with the needs of few. Humans are the first species we've met that admits this struggle openly. Dr. Collins wiped tears from her eyes. So we passed? You did more than pass, Zixthara said with something that might have been a smile. You showed us what we had been missing. Your androids were perfect, but perfection is not what makes a species worthy of joining our community. Authenticity is. The council chamber erupted in various forms of applause. The crystallines chimed approval, the Zephyrians clicked happily, and the deep swimmers made their flowing songs of celebration. Even some of the constructs, who preferred logic, showed approval through flashing lights. But Zixthara raised her hand for silence. However, there is still the matter of your 50-year deception. The council has decided that humanity must make amends. The humans tensed again. Here came the punishment. You must share your android technology with any species. That requests it, the Primarch announced. Your artificial beings represent a breakthrough in synthetic life that could benefit the entire galaxy. Dr. Brooks blinked in surprise. That's the punishment? That is the contribution, Zixthara corrected. Every species brings something unique to the council. The Mindreachers bring psychic abilities. The crystallines bring harmonic technology. The deep swimmers bring biological expertise. Humans bring the ability to create artificial life that is nearly indistinguishable from the real thing. But more importantly, added Tleth, humans bring emotional honesty. In all our years of council meetings, we have never seen representatives cry during negotiations, lose their temper at injustice, or volunteer for personal sacrifice so quickly. Unit Prime of the Constructs spoke for the first time. Your androids were impressive, but you real humans are fascinating. You combine logic and emotion in ways we did not think possible. President Carter found her voice. So humanity is accepted into the Galactic Council with full membership and all privileges, Zixthara confirmed. But we have one request. Name it, Carter said immediately. Send more real humans as ambassadors. We want to work with beings who show genuine emotion, who struggle with difficult decisions, who are beautifully, perfectly imperfect. Dr. Rodriguez laughed, then clapped her hand over her mouth. Sorry, I laugh when I'm nervous. Do not apologize, chimed Cathinal. That is exactly what we want to see. Real reactions, honest emotions, authentic responses. The celebration that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. For the first time in Council history, the human representatives hugged their alien counterparts. President Carter embraced Splash Song. Dr. Brooks shook hands with Tleth, despite the psychic alien's surprise at the physical contact. And Captain Martinez actually high-fived Unit Prime. "This is wonderful," Quinter observed to our Zephyrian. "Colleagues, they express joy through physical contact. How fascinating." Over the following days, real humans began arriving at the station. Unlike the perfect android ambassadors, these humans made mistakes, asked questions, showed wonder at alien technology, and reacted with genuine surprise and delight at new experiences. Ambassador Lucy Parker, who replaced the android Jake Morrison, was nothing like her mechanical predecessor. She got excited about alien art, asked lots of questions about alien cultures, and once accidentally insulted a terraform by suggesting their rock-hard appearance looked really cool. Instead of causing a diplomatic incident, the terraform was delighted by the honest compliment. Dr. Brooks found himself working closely with the Constructs, sharing android technology while learning about their mechanical evolution. The artificial beings were amazed by humanity's ability to create lifelike androids while remaining purely biological themselves. "You created us without becoming us," Unit Prime observed. "That requires wisdom we did not expect from such a young species." Meanwhile, Captain Martinez was working with alien security forces, bringing human military tactics to galactic peacekeeping. Her emotional approach to leadership, caring for her troops, showing anger at injustice, and displaying pride in their achievements was revolutionary to species accustomed to purely logical command structures. The real breakthrough came when Dr. Collins began working with Tleth on a joint psychological study. The Mindreacher had spent decades trying to understand why some species made irrational decisions that turned out to be correct. "Humans call it intuition," Collins explained. "Sometimes our emotions guide us to solutions that pure logic cannot find." "Show me," Tleth requested. Collins presented him with a complex moral dilemma involving resource allocation. The logical answer was clear, but something felt wrong about it. "My gut says there's a better solution," she said, after hours of emotional reasoning and creative thinking. They found a third option that saved more lives than the logical choice would have. Tleth was amazed. "Your emotions are not weaknesses," he realized. "They are additional processing systems that find solutions logic alone cannot discover." This insight revolutionized galactic thinking. For millions of years, the Council had valued logic and control above all else. But humans showed them that emotion, chaos, and unpredictability could be strengths rather than flaws. 6 months after first contact, humanity had become one of the most popular species in the galaxy. Their embassies were always busy with aliens, wanting to experience human emotional honesty. Their negotiators were in high demand because they could find creative solutions to impossible problems. The android program was transformed into something new. Instead of replacements for humans, the androids became teachers and assistants, helping other species understand human emotional complexity. Jake Morrison, rebuilt and reprogrammed, became the first android professor at the Galactic University. "The humans taught us that perfection is not the goal," he explained to his alien students. "Authenticity is. Being real, with all the messages that involves, is more valuable than being perfect." President Carter stood on the observation deck of humanity's new embassy, watching ships from dozens of species come and go. Dr. Brooks joined her, both of them marveling at how much had changed. "Do you ever regret revealing the truth?" Brooks asked. Carter smiled. "Never. We spent 50 years hiding behind perfect representatives, but it turns out the galaxy didn't want perfection. They wanted us messy, emotional, unpredictable us." "The androids served their purpose," Brooks reflected. "They kept us safe while we learned." But they could never have given us what we have now, real relationships with our galactic neighbors. As if to prove his point, Ambassador Parker burst onto the observation deck, her face glowing with excitement. President Carter, the Verdans want to establish a botanical exchange program with Earth. They're fascinated by our emotional connections. To plants. Carter laughed at the young ambassador's enthusiasm. Set up the meeting. And Parker? Try not to hug the Verdans. They're still getting used to human physical contact. No promises. Parker grinned and rushed off to arrange the meeting. Dr. Brooks shook his head in amazement. 6 months ago, our representatives were perfect diplomatic androids. Now we have ambassadors who hug aliens and get excited about plant exchanges. And the galaxy loves us for it, Carter added. Who would have thought that being H